Welcome to the Robert Hunt Financial Market Update. It's your host, Robert Hunt, where I look at the week's financial news that can be a bit confusing, misleading, and take you off course and help to make it actionable, understandable, and clear. You're into 2026. It's amazing. You made it. Excellent show for you. Excellent show. Because it's 2026 and we're living in the future, we got to talk about artificial intelligence. I will have a little artificial intelligence corner where we talk about the ways I'm using it and see if you can't borrow some of those strategies. We also will be looking at advertisements. Yes, the advertising machine has cranked up in 2026, and even those we love and trust are seeking to make us buy products that aren't best for us. And then we look to the future again, where a recent interview by Mr. Elon Musk mentioned that it doesn't make sense to save. We'll have to dig into that. We'll also look at Mr. John Maynard Keynes and what he said. But at the top, artificial intelligence. If you've listened to the podcast with regularity over the past few years, you know that the frequency with which we talk about artificial intelligence has been increasing. That cadence has been increasing. Why? Because it keeps getting better. 18 months ago, 24 months ago, it was a novelty. You could ask it financial questions and it would hit and it would miss and it would hit and miss. You could make it mess up pretty easy. 6 months ago, it got pretty good. Somebody fixed something, and then the latest rollout from Google, Gemini 3, pretty good. Pretty good. So I decided, let's really push this thing. And I looked it up. Security. How safe is our data, financial data and financial questions that we're asking to these machines? Well, I learned with Google, if you're just in the free Google world, not Google Workspace, not a corporate account, not an enterprise account, but just you've got, roberthunt@gmail.com or something. That's not my address, by the way. Wish it was. And you use Gemini, they may use your data for training data, and there may be a contractor somewhere halfway across the world that actually sets eyes to your data. So what you want to be sure is when you're putting in data, there's a little shield on Gemini that ensures your data is secure as it is on Google Drive. If those of you use Google Drive, it's a cloud-based file sharing system Google has. So I said, okay, all right, I'll take the bait. I'll believe Google, and I uploaded my tax return. Now, I recommend redacting your name and your social security, even though they tell you it's super secure and there's a shield and it's as secure as Google Drive. But I just said, you know what? I'm going to pump it in there. So I shot it in there. It's a bunch of pages. I just started asking it questions, just started talking to it, and it knows a lot. It had a lot of ideas. What it felt like to me was, wow, there's this. I wouldn't call it a CPA that's a high-level CPA quite yet. It just has this immediate recall on all your data. So you can just start talking to it without, you don't have to read the rows and files. And you can ask it strategies. Hey, what should I be doing? And the strategies it gave me, I agreed with. I've just elected not to do some of those strategies. Or those strategies ended up not being kind of worth my time or worth the rigmarole. But boy, it was revelatory to me that I could just start talking to this machine, and it really knows the tax code, really knows it, and it really knows my return. What a useful analyst to just have and talk with. And what I've increasingly done is, and I'll tell clients this, hey, as I'm talking to someone on the phone, they're asking me questions, I've got my Gemini open. I'm Mr. 3.0. The new thinking model is great. And I'm just plugging in stuff, talking to the client. It's another analyst in the room. I've gone so far as to, during a meeting, I've got my big screen up here, pop over to Gemini, and we just start talking to it. Hey, what sensitivity analysis? What would happen if I paid off the mortgage? What happens if I didn't pay it? Just real time. No, we don't have to go to any financial calculators or special software programs. We're just using these general models. They're now so fast and so accurate, not perfect. I've caught it in an error this week. Again, it's an analyst so it's not, it can make mistakes. I suspect in the future it won't, but just boom. What happens if I refi here? What happens if I don't put this much down? Just all these little questions that sometimes we can just in a meeting in real time, just puff into the air and, okay, I'll do it and send it to you. Nope. Let's just do it real time. Benihana style. Chop it up, serve it up. I had some Benihana fried rice to go the other week. Wow. By the way, I never talked to a human. I called Benihana, and someone whose voice sounded just like mine answered the phone, asked me what I wanted to do. It was AI. They then sent me to another AI. I never talked to a human. I roll into Benihana, pick up the fried rice from a human, not a robot. But I ordered Benihana with no humans, and it sounded like I'm talking to you. A little more deliberate. They asked me 3 times if I had the right sauce order, but I kind of like that. So if you want to see how far AI is going, just call Benihana's on Banner Road in Dallas, and it will be a robot if you order to go. And let's talk about advertising, because advertising is not going away. I don't care how good the AI gets. In fact, I worry advertising will get even better, because solo practitioners like myself, if we wanted to advertise, we have incredible tools available to us. So let's talk about an article our beloved Vanguard put out. Headline, just a scandalous headline. A practitioner's guide to building an active equity portfolio. Ugh. Sad reading it. Listen to this. Active strategies offer the prospect of better long-term returns and wealth creation than index funds, provided costs are reasonable and manager talent is high. It's hard not to laugh, but you also want to cry because they're from Vanguard. But even the best funds and managers experience stretches of underperformance, often for years at a time, as their investing styles fall in and out of favor. This is Mr. Andrew Schumann and Matt Bogle, who I'm sure are wonderful people. Their Vanguard Perspective, December 16th, 2025. This article, in 5 pages, ultimately is promoting these Vanguard ETFs that are active. The Vanguard Wellington U.S. Growth Active ETF, the Vanguard Wellington U.S. Active Value ETF, the Vanguard Wellington Dividend Growth ETF. It gives all these reasons, and tons of data. And by the way, these illustrative models show, oh wow, look at how well you can do. And then wouldn't you know, investing subject to risk, possible loss of principal. Everybody says that. That was one ad. I then saw another ad from Interactive Brokers, who I like. So we're going to talk about the Vanguard, but we're going to do Interactive Brokers together because it's the same principle. Interactive Brokers sent me a advertisement that showed all Interactive Brokers clients earn 19.20% versus the S&P 500 of 17.9%. So I'll say that again. Interactive Brokers, people who used it, their returns for the year were 19.2%. The S&P 500 last year did 17.9%. What's the conclusion Interactive Brokers wants you and I to come to? Oh, there's something in the water over Interactive Brokers. I'm fuddy-duddy index fund. I'm missing out. What am I doing? Well, I just plugged this into the AI. I said, how many years has Interactive Brokers offered their performance versus the S&P 500? And I kind of knew the answer, but it was nice to be affirmed. Don't we love being affirmed? This is the only year. The AI said they have not found Interactive Brokers to promote this data in previous years. And there are a whole host of reasons why you wouldn't. Ultimately, it's kind of confusing data. What if your clients have a conservative strategy and are in all bonds? I mean, it wouldn't even be fair to do this. But this is the Gemini's takeaway, which I agree with. Leverage. What is Interactive Brokers best at, class? Cheap margin. They really are. And I recommend it to people. Hey, if someone wants to borrow money and they're thinking about borrowing from a bank or borrowing from their broker and they're not at Interactive Brokers, I say go to Interactive Brokers. It is cheap. That can be dangerous because cheap debt might convince us that we can just borrow, but it really is great. It's a great platform, cheap debt, great customer service. But there's a book on my bookshelf called How to Lie with Statistics. It's an important book. Understanding statistics is incredibly important. When you walk into a casino, which I hope you don't do, but if you do and you go to the roulette wheel, what you'll see, not all the time, but what I've seen is they are tracking how many went on black, how many went on red, and the pattern. So there's this giant pattern, and you might see, wow, it did black 7 in a row. Well, what is the casino doing? They're enticing you to action. Well, for some bettors, they might say, well, there's black's on a roll. I'm going to bet on black and think it'll go eighth. Now, what do we do when we see someone do that? We kind of chuckle, don't we? Because the roulette wheel, the odds are pretty obvious to us. There's 2 little green dots and the rest are half black, half red. So you've got a little less than a 50-50 shot of being right on a red or black bet. That's the house's cut. But when people start to see patterns, oh, wow, black, or the same guy that says, oh, it's been black 7 times, I'm going to bet red because it's a 50-50 shot. You can't do this ever. You got to be due black. We kind of chuckle, don't we? But we do the same thing. Investors do the same thing. Vanguard's telling us that active equity ETFs are superior than index funds. And why not? In a vacuum, why can't we say anything? Interactive Brokers is claiming that they have offer a 19.20% returns. They offer no explanation. Neither does, you know what Vanguard doesn't do? In their article, 7 pages, never once do they talk about the Spiva report. What percent of active funds fail to beat their indices over a 10-year period? 90% fail rate. Over a 20-year period, 95% fail rate. It's a horrendous track record, and yet Vanguard has the gall to put out articles like this and then pump their products. Which, in their defense, they do have the cheapest, or some of the cheapest active, meaning picking stocks actively, funds out there. But when the great Jack Bogle was concerned about Vanguard becoming a supermarket of sorts instead of a guide, his dream was that Vanguard would be a place that the investor can show up and really can't mess it up because the product offerings are so simple and so straightforward. Well, that dream is gone. I ultimately understand why they felt like they had to do it. And for the learned consumer, it's a blessing. Hey, who doesn't want more choice? But I think for a lot of people, they don't understand statistics. They don't understand distributions across a histogram. They're going to take the bait. Interactive Brokers, you've got to be careful. You don't take the bait. This is meaningless data. IBK, our clients beat the S&P 500 2025. Trade where serious investors outperform. That's their headline. Join over 4 million clients who earn 3.14% interest on uninvested cash, lower than Vanguard. So we just got to be wise as serpents, innocent as doves, and understand statistics, understand the why. Otherwise, eventually the ads win. My experience over long periods of time, this is a Peter Thiel, the great venture capitalist, futurist. He said, when the consumer is uninformed and doesn't understand, they gravitate toward brands. So he was actually asked about the personal finance investing space. And the question was asked, why has this not been disrupted? Why? This is so simple. And he said, people gravitate toward brands when they don't know what to do. And he's right. I do it. We do it. What soap do you buy? I don't know. I'll just do the one I used growing up. Or maybe I do the cheapest one, but increasingly it doesn't always work out on soap. But we just gravitate toward brands. I don't even want to spend the time researching the soaps. Maybe the AI will for me. But we do that and invest. I'll just go with the big bank. Just go with the guy I met at the local watering hole or church. Just, hey, it's a brand. He's got a business card. Let's do it. It's very dangerous. Very expensive. Very expensive. And then we end with thoughts on the future. There was a long interview. I didn't listen to the whole thing. It was multiple hours long, but there was a 15-minute highlight reel I listened to that Elon Musk sat down with Peter Diamandis talking about the future. And he mentioned something. He said a quote, which was a shot across the bow of anyone who's saving any money for retirement. He said, don't worry about it. Elon Musk said, do not worry about it. In 10 years, 15 years, we'll have so many robots with AI making goods and services. You're not going to need money. Who needs money? It'll be kind of a Star Trek future. Jean-Luc Picard on the Enterprise. You just want a coffee and it just kind of makes a little coffee for you with the little particles. That's the future. What's the point? And it made me think of a John Maynard Keynes article, 1930 essay, Economic Possibilities for Our Grandchildren, where he correctly predicted that we would have, he said, a 4 to 8 times standard of living increase over the next 100 years. His prediction was for 2030, which is fast approaching. And it's about at 8 times. standard of living increase. So way to go, John. He did it. But he had another prediction that said, people will work about 15 hours a week on average. Well, that didn't happen. What happened? Well, a cornucopia of needs that he would have described as wants for the 2026 human. My suspicion is even Elon, who's great futurist, inventor of our day, brilliant man, I would be careful about taking his advice and his predictions too seriously. It can be tempting because it tickles my ears. Great. Fantastic. That would be a fantastic thing if goods and services dropped in price so much that is it going to eradicate poverty? All these really important staples of human life can be provided to everyone, as Elon's predicting. And his advice was, don't worry about it. Retirement, saving, who cares? I hope he's right, but whenever someone makes such a bold prediction about the future, I'm going to wait. I hope you're right. I might do a little trust but verify. I'll just see how this goes, Mr. Musk. But we know we can control. And so we can't get too caught up in the futurist. Someone had taken John Maynard Keynes' advice and taken it too seriously, which admittedly was 100-year advice. Elon's giving 10-year advice, a little different. But they could have ended up in a bit of a ditch. A 1930s lifestyle, pretty cool. But pretty tough too in 2030. So he was right in a sense. Maybe Elon will be right in a sense. But I recommend you stay on your grind. Doing what? Keeping your costs low, your investing simple, and your time horizon long, because that's what's going to give you the best shot on your investing journey from now until 2030 or 2060 or 2090. Until next week.